Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the challenges or pros of having a vehicle with matte or satin paint. So come check this out. All right, matte paint. It's one of the largest, newest trends in automotive. We have a matte paint here, and you see how it's not quite glossy. Okay, so what is matte paint? So matte paint is essentially textured paint that refracts or deflects light, and so it has a non-glossy appearance. And you can kind of hear that sound, that scratchy sound. So the same reason that it has this texture to it is the same reason we can't polish the paint. So the one downfall about matte paint is if it gets swirls or scratches, you can't polish those out. And an example of that on this car would be this spot. Let's see if we can see it in the light here. There is a spot over here somewhere that was polished from the factory, and it kind of looked like a fingerprint in a sense. And what that was a paint nib that had been kind of taken off and they tried to blend it. But you know, on a gloss car, there's nothing you can really do. On a gloss car, you can polish and finish that out, but on a matte paint car, you can't do that. It is what it is once it's in the paint. Now, the flip side to that is that matte paint, because of the way it refracts light and has that textured appearance, it hides defects really well. So you notice you don't see any scratches on this car at all, despite the fact that the dealer admitted to running this through their version of an automatic car wash. And so if this was a gloss black car, you would see a bunch of swirls. But you don't see that here. Even though it probably is scratched, we don't see it even under inspection lights. And that's because of the way the paint behaves. And one other thing about matte paint is sometimes it's a little splotchy. So what I mean by that, and you really have to be looking for it, I don't even know if I'll be able to capture it on camera, but the best way to describe it is almost like smudges in a sense, where you can tell that the paint has slightly, like it's not a completely uniform appearance. And again, that's just one of the things that's typical of a car with matte paint. Now, so, you know, it looks good, but then of course, if you want to put a paint protection film on it, you must use a matte paint protection film. If you use a gloss paint protection film, it's going to turn this to a glossy appearance. And so, you know, you do have, you know, a little bit more challenge as well, because matte paint, because of the texture of the paint, also doesn't necessarily like to stick as well as if you're trying to apply paint protection film to it, doesn't like to stick quite as well as gloss paint. And then you can equate this to, say, putting a piece of tape on this cabinet, which also has a bit of a texture, but picture this cabinet versus trying to put some tape on this painted wood. There's less surface material where the adhesive is sticking to actually grip. And so it does present some challenges putting matte PPF, which tends to have slightly less aggressive adhesive than gloss PPF as it is, and then you're taking it and putting it on a vehicle with less surface tension. So there's a lot of pros and cons of matte paint. You do have to be careful with it because, you know, if you do rub up against and scratch it, that is in there. You can't polish that out like you can with a gloss car. So I hope that explains some of the pros, some of the cons of matte paint. Taking care of matte paint is really no different than taking care of gloss paint, except you definitely have to be more careful. Why? Because let's say, for example, a water spot gets into a gloss paint and let's say you use a water spot remover and it doesn't come out, you can always try to polish it before it etches the paint, but you can't do that with matte paint. So you definitely have to be careful when you're washing your vehicle outside if you have hard water to not leave hard water marks, because that will permanently damage the paint, because you only have so many steps that you can take to try to remove those water spots. So I hope that helps, and enjoy the video.